Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles.
Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. I'm Reed, a banker by profession, and I met Jenny at a party. The place was already humming when I stepped into our mutual friend's apartment. Glasses clinked, laughter rose in bursts, and a tangle of conversations created a steady buzz. As I scanned the room for a familiar face, I spotted her, Jenny, standing near the kitchen island, deep in conversation with a small group. There was something about her easy smile and the way she truly listened that made me pause. Taking a breath, I walked over. "Hi, I'm Reed," I said. She turned to me with a warm smile. "Jenny, nice to meet you." I offered her a fresh bottle of sparkling water. She accepted it with a soft thanks, and somehow, the noise of the party faded a little. "So Reed, what do you do?" she asked. "Banking," I replied. "Mostly corporate clients. I spend way too much time with spreadsheets and interest rates." She laughed softly. "I'm an accountant. Sounds like we both wrestle with numbers for a living." That shared world, balance sheets, budgets, bottom lines, gave us instant common ground. We swapped stories about marathon budgeting sessions and the strange satisfaction of finding an error no one else had caught. The more we talked, the more the rest of the party seemed to melt into the background. Ever feel like the numbers start dancing when it gets late? I asked with a grin. "Absolutely," she said. "I've caught myself proofreading a ledger and mouthing the figures like lyrics." She gave a sheepish little shake of her head, amused by her own confession. I liked that she owned her quirks. Minutes slipped by, then stretched into an hour. Neither of us drifted away from our corner. When our friend popped in to announce that dessert was being served in the next room, I realized I didn't want the conversation to end. "This has been really easy," I said. "Would you maybe want to continue it sometime? Over coffee?" She met my eyes and smiled. "I'd like that." We exchanged numbers. A simple gesture, but it felt like something more. On the way home, I caught myself smiling at nothing in particular, already looking forward to our first real date. That was how it began. One chance meeting, an unexpected connection, and a shared love of orderly columns that somehow sparked something wonderfully unpredictable. After Jenny and I started dating, things unfolded naturally. There was an ease between us that felt rare, like we'd skipped the awkward early phase and landed straight in something honest. A few weeks in, we began sharing stories from our past relationships. Nothing heavy or overly dramatic, just quiet, thoughtful conversations over coffee or during evening walks. I told her about my last relationship and how it had slowly unraveled, differences in values, communication that kept missing the mark, and the gradual drift that neither of us stopped in time. She opened up, too, and that's when I first heard about him. The ex her mother Olivia had once hoped she'd marry. "He was the son of my mom's best friend," she said one afternoon. There was pressure from all sides to make it work. "What happened?" Her voice was flat. "I caught him cheating. That was it. No drama. No second chances." She didn't flinch when she said it, and I respected that. Still, there was something in her tone, a faint edge, a shadow that didn't quite fade. It wasn't about the guy. It was about her mother Olivia. About 6 months into our relationship, Jenny invited me to meet her mom. I could tell she was a little anxious, even though she tried to play it off. "Just a heads up," she said as we pulled into the driveway. "My mom can be a bit much." I smiled. "I can handle it." I wasn't prepared for what happened next. Olivia opened the door with a tight, practiced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "So you're Reed," she said, like someone unwrapping a gift they didn't ask for. I extended my hand. She took it briefly, lightly, then turned without a word and walked back toward the living room. We sat. The small talk began, if you could call it that. "Jenny mentioned you're in banking," she said, absently adjusting a cushion. Her ex, Jason, just launched a new business. Very sharp guy. He's bound to do something big." I kept my tone even. "Yes, I've heard." She didn't say it directly, but the message was clear. I wasn't what she'd pictured for her daughter. Jenny glanced at me, almost apologetically, but I gave her a quiet smile. It was going to take more than a few pointed comments to shake me. With a pointed smile, Olivia said, "Jason always had such a sharp sense of style. You actually remind me of him. Well, except the shoes." I glanced down at my shoes, then looked back up without replying. Beside me, Jenny stiffened. "Mom," she said quietly, a warning in her tone. But Olivia pressed on, unfazed. "And Jason never let her carry a thing when they went out. Such a gentleman." That was when it hit me. This wasn't really about me at all. It was about the past she hadn't let go of, a version she kept polishing and replaying. Later that evening, Jenny and I stepped outside to get some air. The night was quiet, the kind that carried unsaid things in the stillness between words. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice low. I didn't think she'd. I reached for her hand. Hey, you're not responsible for her behavior. She's never really moved on, Jenny said. When my dad left, it broke something in her. And then she told me the rest, the fights, the tension, and the day her father just vanished. No note, no reason, just gone. Since then, it's all been about control for her, about keeping up appearances. Jason, he checked every box for her, not for me. She leaned against my shoulder with a quiet exhale, like releasing something she'd carried too long. Well, I said softly, she's not dating me. You are. If earning her respect is part of this, I'll do it. But I'm not going anywhere. A faint smile tugged at the corner of her lips. That night hadn't gone anything like I imagined. But in its messiness, it showed me something deeper. Jenny had let go of her past. Olivia hadn't. And like it or not, I was now part of the story. On the drive home, the silence stretched out longer than usual. I kept my focus on the road, but I could feel the heaviness sitting with us. Thick, uncomfortable, familiar. After a few minutes, I glanced over. Jenny was staring out the window, arms folded tight against her chest. You okay? I asked. She let out a sound, somewhere between a sigh and a grunt. Yeah, just tired. But I knew it wasn't just that. Is it what your mom said? I asked gently. She turned her head slightly, her voice quiet, but laced with a bitter edge. She did it again, didn't she? The little digs. The comparisons. I didn't answer. She didn't need me to. Jenny let out a bitter chuckle. Unbelievable. She still puts him on a pedestal, like he's some damn prince. I kept one hand on the wheel and reached for hers with the other. She hesitated for a second, then laced her fingers with mine. You don't owe me an explanation, I said gently. I know who I am, and I know who you are. It's not about you, Reed. It's just frustrating, she said, her voice tight. He's unemployed. Has been for years. Living off his mom's estate, and the way he's burning through it. Even that won't last much longer. She shook her head, the weight of old disappointments creeping into her voice. He started one business after another. Nothing ever sticks. He gets a big idea, throws money at it, and bails the second it gets hard. He's not serious about anything. And yet your mom still acts like I missed out on some golden opportunity. She cut in, her voice cracking, not from sadness, but sheer frustration. She never saw how miserable I was with him, how hollow it felt. All she ever wanted was the storybook ending, me marrying her best friend's son. That's all it was to her. Just a perfect picture to frame. We sat in silence for a few moments, the quiet hum of the car filling the space between us. Our hands stayed linked, grounded in the present. You made the right call walking away from that, I said at last. She nodded, then spoke softly. I know. It's just hard when your own mom refuses to see it. I didn't try to fix it or find the right words, because sometimes there aren't any. I just nodded, letting her know I understood. It wasn't about jealousy or needing approval. It was about Jenny standing between the life she chose and the fantasy Olivia still clung to. But as I drove us away from that heavy evening, I knew one thing for sure. I'd keep showing up. For her. For us. No matter what Olivia thought. After that night, visits to her mother's house became rare. Not out of anger, at least not on Jenny's part, but out of necessity. Self-preservation. She didn't need the thinly veiled digs, and I was tired of playing nice through clenched teeth. So we focused on us instead, on building something real. Something honest. Something that wasn't shaped by anyone else's expectations. And with every quiet night in, every shared laugh, every step forward, I knew we were doing it right. A year passed. Quiet dinners, weekend getaways, late-night talks about everything and nothing. We grew closer in the most natural way. There was no single, defining moment where I thought, she's the one. It was quieter than that. Steady, like a hum in my chest that never went away. I just knew. So I planned it. Nothing grand or flashy, just something real. Something meaningful. One evening, we were at a small rooftop gathering downtown with a handful of close friends. At some point in the night, I asked her to step away with me, toward the edge of the terrace to look at the view. Hey, come here, I said. Jenny smiled. We've seen this skyline a dozen times, Reed. Yeah, I said, but not like this. She stepped beside me. The lights of the city stretched out behind her, but for a moment, the world narrowed down to just her. Everything else faded. You've seen all my cracks, I began, and somehow, you still love me. You've made my life better in ways I didn't even know it could be, and I want to keep building that life with you. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the ring. Will you marry me? She froze, just for a second. Then her hands flew to her mouth, her eyes already welling with tears. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Of course, yes. The small crowd behind us erupted into cheers and applause, but all I could see was her, laughing, crying, pulling me into a kiss like we were the only two people in the world. A few months later, We planned a simple wedding. No spectacle, no drama, just a quiet ceremony with the people who mattered most. Even Olivia came. She didn't say much that day, and, honestly, that was a relief. But none of that really mattered. What mattered was Jenny, walking toward me with that calm, radiant smile that said everything words never could. And just like that, we were married. No noise, no chaos, just love, commitment, and a quiet promise to keep choosing one another, day after day, for the rest of our lives. It was a Thursday night, when Jenny told me her mom had invited us over for a family dinner. I didn't respond right away, just stared at the plate in front of me, waiting for that familiar tightness in my chest to pass. You don't have to come if you don't want to, Jenny said quietly. I get it. I looked up. She meant it, but I also saw it in her eyes. That faint flicker of hope. The part of her that still wished her mom could manage to be decent, just for one night. I'll go, I said. For you. So I did. When we arrived, the house was already full, relatives, neighbors, the usual spread of family noise and mingling. Her mom had clearly pulled out all the stops. Laughter spilled from room to room. Drinks were being poured, kids ran through hallways. And for the first time in a long while, I thought, maybe this won't be so bad. We moved through the crowd, sticking close to each other. People were warm, welcoming. For a moment, it felt like a real family dinner, like I actually belonged. And then I heard it. From across the room. Oh, Jason, can you help me with these trays? Jason, not Reed. Jason. For a split second, I thought maybe I'd misheard. But the hush that fell over the room, and the look on Jenny's face, told me I hadn't. I stood there jaw tight. Frozen. Jenny instinctively reached for my arm. Reed, she started, voice low. Then Olivia appeared, holding a tray of cutlery like nothing had happened. She smiled. Oops. Slip of the tongue. You know how it is. Too many names running around in my head. A casual shrug. No apology. No accountability. Just another quiet jab, wrapped in a joke and handed off like it was nothing. That was her game. Undermine, humiliate, then act like it didn't mean a thing. But not this time. I took a step forward. No, I said, voice steady. We're not doing that tonight. She paused mid-step, then slowly turned to face me. Excuse me. Olivia said, her tone clipped. You didn't slip up. I replied, calm but unwavering. You've been doing this for years. Every time we come here, you find a way to drag him into the conversation. Tonight, you didn't forget my name. You said it on purpose. The room fell into a hush. Conversations halted. Forks stopped midair. She let out a dry laugh, trying to brush it off. You're overreacting. It was just a mix-up. No, I said. You smiled when you said it. Like it was some inside joke. One only you thought was funny. For a moment, she just stared, like she didn't quite know what to do with someone calling her out in front of a room full of people. I'm Jenny's husband. I continued. I've never disrespected you. But I'm done standing here while you keep disrespecting me, especially in front of her. At my side, Jenny's voice came in, quiet but resolute. Mom, he's right. That stopped her cold. Jenny took a small breath, her voice firm. I've let this slide too many times. You've been clinging to the past like it's some kind of prize. But I've moved on. I married him because I love him. And if you can't respect that, then maybe we stop coming around. The silence in the room turned heavy. You could hear the soft hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen. Everyone, family, friends, neighbors, sat frozen, watching, listening. I stepped forward, my voice low but deliberate. That was your last mistake with me. Her face tightened, the carefully crafted smile she wore faltering at the edges. One more, I said, and you'll regret it. I promise. Not a sound. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. No one spoke. No one moved. Jenny's grip on my arm tightened, not to hold me back, but to steady me, to let me know she was with me, fully. She turned her eyes back to her mother. Enough, Mom, she said, clear and controlled. Stop. Stop comparing him to Jason. Stop disrespecting the man I chose. This time, there was no smirk. No reply. Just silence. But it wasn't ours anymore. Reed is twice the man Jason ever was, Jenny said, her voice clear. And you know it. That's why it gets under your skin. Olivia blinked, caught off guard. But within seconds, she smoothed her expression, resetting her face like someone putting a mask back on. With a forced laugh and both hands raised, she tried to regain control. All right, let's all calm down. It was just a name mix-up. No need to ruin dinner over something so small. These things happen. She looked around the room, hoping someone would smile or nod, hoping someone would bail her out. But no one did. The silence held. Heavy, awkward, unforgiving. No, I said quietly. These things don't just happen. Not again. Not with me. She opened her mouth to respond, but Jenny stepped in first. Don't, she said firmly. Just don't. We've said what needed to be said. And that was it. We didn't storm out. No slammed doors. No shouting match. Just a moment of stillness. Truth hanging in the air, finally spoken. No more pretending. We stayed through dinner, but not much longer. When it ended, Jenny and I stood up together. Neither of us looked in her mother's direction. No forced smiles. No empty goodbyes. Just a quiet walk to the door, and then out into the night. The ride home was silent. No music, no conversation. Just the hum of the tires on pavement and the weight of everything that had finally been put into words. After that night, the distance grew. Calls stopped. Visits ended. No more awkward get-togethers or hollow gestures. And for the first time since I'd met Jenny, there was peace, at least when it came to her mother Olivia. But it didn't last. Olivia knew how to get under the skin, how to say just the right thing at just the right time. Manipulative didn't even begin to describe it. A few quiet weeks passed, and then one afternoon, I was at work when my phone buzzed. It was Jenny. "Hey babe, got a minute?" "Yeah," I said, already sensing it. "Everything okay?" She hesitated, and that told me everything. "It's my mom," she said. "She called. Said she's not feeling well. Asked if I could come by and help with something around the house." I leaned back in my chair, eyes fixed on the ceiling for a long second before answering. "And what did you say?" "I told her I'd talk to you first. I know how you feel. I won't go if you really don't want me to." And I believed her. I appreciated that more than I could say, but it still landed hard. "Jenny, you know how she is," I said quietly. "She always pulls the sympathy card when she wants control." "I know," she replied, her voice soft. "But she's still my mom." There it was. I sat in silence, fingers tapping absently against the desk. A part of me wanted to say no, to remind her of everything. How Olivia had never once apologized, never shown real respect. How she always managed to twist the knife while smiling. But the other part, the part that understood Jenny's heart, couldn't bring himself to stand in her way. "If you feel like you should go," I said gently, "then go." "Are you sure?" she asked. "I'm sure. Just be careful. Don't let her twist things again." "I won't," she promised, just as gently. "I'll be okay." We ended the call, and I sat there, still staring at the screen, wondering how many more times Olivia would find a way to slip into our lives, always with one hand outstretched and the other hiding a blade. But I trusted Jenny. Even if Olivia never changed, she had. Still, later that evening, while I was wrapping up at the office, that uneasy feeling settled in my chest, the kind that's hard to name but impossible to ignore. I leaned back in my chair, trying to shake it off. Then my phone pinged. 2 images. Both from my mother-in-law Olivia. The first, Jenny, seated at a dining table. The second, Jason, him, sitting directly across from her. My blood ran cold. For a long moment, I just stared. Jaw clenched. Heart pounding. My fingers tightened around the phone as my mind started to spin. She set this up. She planned this. Before I could unlock my phone to call Jenny, it lit up on its own. Her name flashed across the screen. She was calling me. I answered instantly. My voice came out colder than I intended. "Why is Jason sitting across from you? What the hell is going on, Jenny? Are you cheating on me?" There was a beat of silence. Then her voice cut through, sharp and unwavering. "No, don't you dare say that. I've never cheated on you, Reed. Never." I didn't respond. Just sat there, breathing hard, listening. "I had no idea he'd be there," she continued, voice tight. "When I got to my mom's, the front door was open, and he was already sitting in the living room. I asked her what the hell was going on. And I asked, jaw clenched. She smiled and said, 'Oh, he was just passing by and thought he'd stop in to say hello.' Like it was nothing. Then she tells me to sit down, that she made tea. I sat for a minute, Reed, just trying to understand what was happening. 'She set you up,' I said flatly. 'Yeah, she did. And she didn't even try to hide it.' After I sat down, she smiled like it was some big reveal and said, 'You two should talk. You were always so good together.' Like this was some rom-com reunion. Unbelievable. I muttered, bitter. Her voice rose, furious now. I lost it. I told her I wasn't playing that game. But she kept pushing, said I owed it to myself to have a conversation, to reconsider. That's when I slapped her. I blinked. 'You slapped her?' 'Right across the face,' she said without hesitation. Then I walked out. Didn't look back. I didn't know she took pictures. I didn't even know she sent them to you." Her voice softened, hurt but steady. "I would never cheat on you, Reed. Ever. You're my husband. She's the one trying to sabotage us, not me." I sat in silence, the fire in my chest still burning, but starting to cool. Not because I wasn't angry. I was. But because I believed her. She really thought she could manipulate both of us. I said quietly. "She's gone too far this time," Jenny replied. "Yeah," I said. "She has." We didn't speak for a while after that. No noise between us, just the weight of what had happened and the sound of two people holding the line, refusing to let someone else break it. "Come home," I said. "I'm on my way," Jenny replied softly. I ended the call and stared at the photos one last time before deleting them. Whatever game Olivia thought she was playing, she'd just made the biggest mistake of all. Because now, I wasn't just angry. I was done. Without thinking twice, I stood up, grabbed my keys, and headed straight into my boss's office. Victor, I need to leave early. It's personal, urgent. He looked up, studied me for a moment, and then gave a small nod. Go. Handle it. I didn't wait for anything else. I was already moving, each step faster than the last, heart pounding, jaw clenched. The drive home felt like a crawl. Every red light and slow driver only stoked the fire that was already roaring inside me. This wasn't frustration anymore. It was something deeper. Olivia had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. When I finally pulled into the driveway and stepped through the front door, Jenny was already there. She stood in the hallway, eyes red, face pale. And the moment she saw me, she walked straight into my arms like she'd been holding herself together just long enough to fall apart. How can my own mother do something like this? She whispered into my chest, voice cracking as tears spilled. I wrapped her tightly in my arms, one hand pressed gently against the back of her head. I didn't have an answer for what kind of person does something like that. I just knew we couldn't allow it to happen again. We're done with her, Jenny, I said quietly. It's time to move on. She pulled back slightly, looking up at me with tear-streaked cheeks, but there was fire in her eyes now, not just pain. You mean it? She asked. I do, I said. I'm not asking you to choose between us. I'm telling you, it's time we choose us. We can't keep letting her poison our lives. She nodded, slow but certain, like the words had been sitting in her chest, waiting for permission to breathe. That night, we sat down together, shoulder to shoulder, and took the final steps. Jenny blocked her Olivia's number. So did I. No anger. No theatrics. Just peace, finally reclaiming its place in our home. Jenny opened her insurance portal, hands steady, face calm. With a few quiet clicks, she removed Olivia from her coverage. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Then she opened her banking app and began combing through her financials. She found the recurring transfer she'd been sending every month, support she'd justified for years as help, even when it came at the cost of her peace. She canceled it. Not a word passed between us. Just the soft clatter of keys, a few silent tears sliding down her cheeks, and the quiet, resolute sound of a door finally closing. When she was done, she leaned into me, resting her head on my shoulder. It hurts, she whispered. I know, I said, but it had to be done. We sat like that for a while, quiet, not broken, just worn down. But underneath the weariness, there was something else. Relief. Because for the first time since I'd met Jenny, the shadow Olivia cast over our lives was gone. And whatever came next, it would be ours to face. Together. The next 2 weeks were calm, peaceful in a way that felt unfamiliar. We cooked dinner together, took long walks, slept without tension stretching between us like a live wire. The silence in our home was finally soft, not loud with unspoken fear or resentment. But peace never lasts forever. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was in the kitchen, waiting for the coffee to finish brewing, when a loud knock shook the front door. Not just loud, angry, demanding. The kind of knock that doesn't wait to be welcomed. Jenny was already headed toward it. She peeked through the peephole, then froze. Her voice came low, tight. It's her. I didn't need clarification. Before I could say anything, she opened the door. Olivia swept inside like a storm, eyes blazing, voice already raised. How dare you block me, she shouted. You think this is how you treat your own mother? I stepped beside Jenny but stayed quiet. This wasn't my fight to start, it was hers to finish. She didn't flinch. Olivia rounded on me, finger pointing like a blade. This is his fault. He turned you against me. He's the reason this family is falling apart. Then her eyes locked on mine, full of venom, like she expected me to flinch, to back down. I never liked you, Reed. Olivia spat. Not once. You were never good enough for my daughter. Jason was. He's the one she should have married. That was it. Jenny snapped. If you love Jason so much, she shouted, why don't you marry him yourself? The room went still, utter silence, the kind that falls when truth slices clean through the air. Olivia blinked, stunned, maybe for the first time in her life. Jenny's voice trembled, not with fear, but fury long held in. I've had enough. You've interfered in every corner of my life for years. You never cared what made me happy. It was always about you, about what looked right, what felt safe, what you could control. Well, that ends now. You're making a mistake, Olivia started. No. Jenny cut in, voice sharp and final. You made the mistake. You showed up at my house, uninvited, to insult my husband and try to drag me back to a life I chose to leave behind. Olivia opened her mouth to protest, but Jenny raised a hand, silencing her with the kind of power that comes from years of silence breaking all at once. I'm done. I don't want contact. I don't want apologies. If you ever show up here again, I will call the police. Do you understand? She didn't wait for an answer. Jenny walked to the door, swung it wide, and pointed out. Get out. Olivia stood frozen, lips pressed tight, fury simmering. But there was something in Jenny's voice, something that said the game was over. That Jenny meant every word. She left without saying another thing. Jenny closed the door behind her and leaned against it, her chest rising and falling in deep, steady breaths. No tears this time, just a silence that felt earned. I stepped over and wrapped my arms around her. You okay? I asked gently. She nodded, her voice quiet but sure. I am now. And I believed her. Because this time, she hadn't just drawn a line, she stood her ground. Firm, unshaken, free. From that day forward, life returned to what it always should have been. Calm mornings, quiet evenings, laughter that didn't come with a price. We didn't talk about Olivia anymore. Not because we were avoiding the subject, because she simply stopped existing in our world. Whatever was happening on her side of the fence, we didn't look back. We didn't need to. 2 months later, everything shifted again. I was scrolling through something on my tablet when Jenny's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and answered casually. Hey, Sarah, what's up? Her voice was light, at first. But within seconds, her tone changed. Her brow creased, her mouth parted, and her eyes narrowed in disbelief. Wait, what? I put the tablet down, watching her rise slowly, drifting toward the kitchen as Sarah kept talking. No, I didn't know. Are you sure? She married him. There was a long silence as Sarah's voice carried through the line. Jenny just stood there, staring out the window, still as glass. Okay, thanks. I'll call you later. She hung up and stayed frozen, her eyes still locked on something far away. I got up and walked over. Jenny. She turned to me, stunned, but not exactly surprised. More like someone who'd finally seen the last card fall. My mom married Jason, she said quietly. I blinked. She what? She married him. Sarah said she saw pictures online. Courthouse ceremony. A few mutual friends were there. It's real. I stared at her, the disgust rising in my chest like bile. She married your ex. I said slowly, trying to believe the words even as I spoke them. Jenny nodded, still shaking her head like it hadn't fully landed. He's 28. She's 50. That's a 22-year gap, Reed. She began pacing, the words coming quicker now, sharp, breathless, stunned. I always knew she was obsessed with him, always comparing me to him, always talking about what could have been. But this. I sat at the table, trying to piece it together. It's twisted. It's like she wasn't just stuck in the past. She was trying to replace you. Jenny exhaled, her voice lower now, colder. She always wanted him in the family. And when I refused to play her game, she just made it happen without me. She sat down beside me, her anger giving way to something far heavier. Something final. I've already cut her off. This just proves everything. She never cared about me. Just about control. And Jason, he was just another pawn. I reached for her hand, then let her live with the choice she made. Jenny nodded, eyes steady now. Yeah, she made her bed. Let her rot in it. We didn't speak about it after that. There was nothing left to say. She chose Jason. She chose to destroy every boundary, to tear down the last shred of respect between us. That choice was her line in the sand, and we had no interest in crossing it with her. We'd already made the decision, firmly, finally. She no longer existed in our lives. That chapter was closed. And for the first time in what felt like forever, our focus was exactly where it should have been, on us. On our marriage. Our future. It was time to build something better. 4 months after that phone call, the one that had left us stunned and disgusted, Jenny came to me one morning with something in her eyes I couldn't quite place. A mix of nerves and something glowing just beneath the surface. She had her hands behind her back. Close your eyes, she said, smiling like she was trying to hold it all in. I squinted. Oh, what is this? Just trust me. I did. There was a soft rustling sound, and then something small was pressed into my hands. I opened my eyes. It was a white baby onesie, the words Daddy, coming soon printed across the front in soft gray letters. I stared at it, then looked at her. You're serious? I whispered. She nodded, eyes already brimming with tears. We're going to be parents, Reed. I've had good days. Great ones, even. But nothing, not a job offer, not our wedding, came close to that moment. Standing there, holding that tiny onesie, my heart just cracked open. I choked up. This is the happiest day of my life. We held each other like we'd never let go. That night, we stayed up late talking baby names, nursery ideas, and all the things we'd do differently. All the love we'd give. All the protection. We promised our child would never feel the kind of manipulation, the kind of conditional love that Jenny had endured. Everything finally felt right. Until it didn't. It was a rainy afternoon when everything shifted again. I was in the living room, halfway through assembling a baby shelf when there was a knock at the door. Not frantic, not angry, just steady. Repeated. Jenny walked over to answer it. And there she was. Olivia. She wasn't storming in. She wasn't yelling. She just stood there on the porch, soaked to the skin, her expression hollow. Eyes sunken, voice brittle. Please, she said. I just need a minute. Jenny didn't answer. I stood and came to her side. Olivia looked at both of us, her voice cracking. Jason, he burned through everything. Every dime. He kept chasing these business ideas, investments, crypto, startups. All smoke. And now he's gone. Just disappeared. She swallowed hard, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I sold the house trying to cover the debt. It wasn't enough. I've got nothing left. She stood there, trembling in the rain. Not proud. Not furious. Just broken. Please. Olivia said, rain dripping from her hair, her voice desperate. Just some money. Just until I can get back on my feet. I didn't say a word. I looked at Jenny, and that's when I saw it, etched clearly in her expression. Not anger. Not grief. Just resolve. You've got some nerve, she said, her voice cold and unwavering. Coming here. After everything. After marrying my ex. After lying, manipulating, trying to tear my marriage apart. After shutting me out more times than I can count. Olivia opened her mouth, but Jenny raised a hand, sharp and final. No, she said. Don't. I don't want your excuses. I don't care what happens to you. You made your choices. You lit every bridge on fire, and now you get to live on the ashes. Olivia's voice cracked. Jenny, please. If you come here again, Jenny said, her tone like steel, I'll call the police. I'm not bluffing. And then, quietly, firmly, she closed the door. She didn't slam it. She didn't collapse. She just stood there, breathing hard, staring at the wood grain like she was sealing it all away for good. I walked up beside her and laid a hand on her shoulder. Are you okay? Her answer came soft, but certain. Yeah, I meant every word. And I knew she had. We turned and walked back into the house, down the hall toward the nursery. The baby shelf still waited, half-assembled. A small pile of folded onesies sat neatly beside it, and a pair of impossibly tiny socks rested on the windowsill. Whatever pieces her mother had left behind, we weren't picking them up. Our life wasn't about regret anymore, or dysfunction, or inherited chaos. It was about us, our future, and the little life we were preparing to welcome into the world. After that final knock, we never looked back. The door stayed closed, not just literally, but in every way that mattered. We gave our energy to each other, to the life we were building. We learned to laugh again, to rest in quiet moments, to plan without dread hanging over us. Then one day, someone mentioned, just in passing, that Olivia was working at a cafe nearby, washing dishes. That was all. No follow-up, no drama. Just a whispered update dropped into the world like a forgotten footnote. Jenny didn't say much, just nodded. And I saw it in her eyes. She didn't feel hurt. Only confirmation. Olivia had chosen her path, and we had chosen ours. Life moved forward. And then one bright, ordinary morning, it happened. Our daughter was born. I still remember the moment the nurse placed her in my arms, so small, so perfect, wrapped in a soft white blanket, her tiny eyes barely open. My heart stopped in the best way. She's here, I whispered. Jenny, exhausted but radiant, smiled from the hospital bed. We did it, Reed, she said softly. She's perfect. We named her Angel, a name woven from meaning, hope, and light. Something just for us. And from the instant I held her, something shifted in me. All the stress, the weight of old wounds, the echoes of everything we'd survived, they faded. Quietly. Completely. Because now, I had this moment. I had her. These days are filled with soft cries, warm bottles, midnight wake-ups, and the rhythmic thump of tiny feet kicking in her crib. Yes, there are sleepless nights and overwhelming moments. But then I look at her. I see Angel, wide-eyed and wondering, and the world stands still. You have no idea how much peace you've brought into this home, little one. I often whisper. Sometimes Jenny finds me sitting beside her crib, just watching her breathe. You're completely gone, aren't you? She teases with a tired smile. Hopelessly, I reply. Our life isn't extravagant. It doesn't sparkle the way magazines or social feeds say it should. But it's ours. It's quiet, it's real, and it's stitched together with love, grace, and everything we've fought to protect. And at long last, we are whole. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.